So currently, this is the last day.
Okay, maingay.
Sir, wait lang.
Alright. Class, again.
Ikaw na may
The quiet thing. Relax. If you already have attendance, you're quite free to go. But remember, we have makeup class Friday morning.
Nakakangalay to, promise.
Friday morning. Alright. Okay. So, this is the last state that we're supposed to be in. Ignore the arms. Let's delete the arms. This should not be done now. We'll do this Friday. Okay. On Friday, everything will be complete. On Friday, the build-up of last 3 seat works that you people have been missing will be checked on Friday. Okay, so by Friday, expect everything to be set up and then animation to start. On Friday, we'll also expect your midterms models, UV map texture, and rigging to start. Okay. So, how do we set this thing up? Right now, there is something called the master control, which will allow you to move the model and all of its associated controllers where you want them to be. There are also new controls here, and you'll notice them. They are for the middle of the torso. Again, you can actually move the middle of your torso without moving your upper torso or your hips. Okay, so you can see this in belly dance. They're quite good at doing it. So moving your hips is a separate thing, right? So this is moving your hips, and this is moving your mid-torso. Okay, and finally there is a targeted head controller. So if I move this thing around, the head will look at it. Alright, so how do we set this up? There's a complex explanation first, and setting these up are easy. They are the exact same setup as this curve, as spine 1 control. So the only thing that's different is that when you create long chains of joints in Maya, it is unpredictable as to how they will orient and behave. So we need to be able to make the rotations consistent. I'll give you an example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 joint. 5 joint chain. I'll make another one. About the same length. 3, 4, 5. Enter. Alright, so I have 2 identical or near identical joint chains, right? If I select all of those joints, edit, select hierarchy, select all of those joints, and then rotate them on Z, you'll notice that the behavior is a little insane, right? They're not bending properly because of the way that Maya creates joints. Maya will create the joint correctly. They will all have X pointing down to their tip, but that's about all that it will do correctly. All of the other rotations will be screwed and mixed up. Okay, and you can see the local rotations by looking at the joint itself, and you can see their X, Y, and Z rotations. And you can see here that this one, X is pointing up properly, but Y and Z are not both pointing in the same direction. And this happens within the same exact chain. For example, if I select all of the joints of this one chain, I would expect that if I rotate this in Z, that it'll do this, right? They're all supposed to rotate in the same direction. But if I do that rotation, this happens. This is actually rotating backwards of all of the rest of the chain. So we need to make this consistent first before we start this setup, or things will screw up when we start to animate. So how do we do it? We need to somehow change the local orientation of this joint. And to do that, I can see the local orientation, but I can't do anything to change it. This is rotating the whole bone. It's not changing how it rotates. It's just changing the rotation. Okay, so something like this is like changing the pivot point, but only for rotation. To do this, we need to change selection mode. Right now, we're in object selection mode. We need to be able to change to component selection mode. And to do that, you need to click here. So this icon will get you to select by component type. Alright? And in select by component type, you will be able to select the local rotation axis. Alright, so with this selected, you'll notice that there are a row of buttons here. This row of button is called the selection mask. So if it was object mode, you'll be able to select between different objects. For example, right now, joints is active, but if it was inactive, I wouldn't be able to select joints. Alright? If curves was inactive, I wouldn't be able to select curves like this nerve circle right there. Can't select it. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing but in reverse. So in component type selection, with the right mouse click on the question mark and go to local rotation axes. Okay, so this gets turned on, and if I select something, I'll be able to see the local rotation axes. And you can see that these two, and the third one is even pointing totally in the wrong direction. Alright, excuse me. But these two are pointing in the right direction, but these two are not. There's an easy way of rotating. So if I select it, I can now do a manual rotation. But if I do it this way, I do it manually, I can't tell if it's exactly aligned with the other axes, right? So if I do that, my joint chain might not bend like this. One finger might bend slightly, a little bit in another direction. So I need to be able to do it precisely. The problem is, there is no way to manipulate it precisely. For example, if I start rotating right now, the rotational degrees do not change. And there is no indication in the channel box as to how it rotates, or how much it rotates. Okay, so one other way of doing it is to show the tool settings. Okay, I'm in rotation mode, and click on Snap Rotate. Now, the snap rotate size is about 15 degrees. So if I move this and snap 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, and I hope that I can get to where I'm supposed to go by counting it. This is very imprecise. I can finally get there, but it's kind of hard to do all of those joint axes simultaneously. So I'm going to use a simple tool. I'm going to use Maya's scripting language to enable me to do it a lot faster. I need to flip the axes 180 degrees, and there is a command to do it. And that command is called rotate. Now, this is the structure of the command. This is a little similar to ActionScript. This is the name of the command. These are the options in the command. -R, rotate, -OS, and object space, or local axes. And the last three numbers will be X, Y, and Z. I want to rotate it 180 on X. Okay, so I just need to select the whole thing. Alright, select the wrong axes, paste it here in the command line, and then press enter. If I press enter, it'll flip to exactly where it should be. Okay, but even this is kind of exhausting if you have to do it for a lot of joints, right? So you have to copy, paste, press enter. So there is an easier way. After you execute something in Maya, it goes here to the script editor. Okay, so just paste it here, my command. Go to my shelf and go to the custom shelf. And in the custom shelf, I can actually create a button for my command. So I can just middle mouse click, drag it, and create a new button. Alright, so now all I have to do is to select my local rotation axes that I need to correct, and then click on this button, and they will point the right way. Okay. Alright, so finally, if you go back to object selection mode, let's select those two. This one is corrected, this one is not. And let's select it. Select hierarchy, then let's do a rotation with Z. Turn off snap rotate. Okay. This one is rotating properly. This one is
Crazy.
insane, crazy, unhappy with his life, and wondering where. Edward, take me. Take me where? To the local CR. Okay. Alright. Don't make any more Twilight jokes. Alright. I realize some people are disgusted with the thing, but some people are in love with it. It's a love or hate thing, right? Okay, so, excuse me. Any questions?
None.
Okay. The rest of